Offering my heartiest congratulations to our newest Phi Beta Kappa members, and I want to express my appreciation to the loved ones who have come to celebrate the accomplishment today. So thank you very much for coming. Of course, we are also ecstatic because this is our first in-person induction ceremony since 2019. So we are very happy to be back together again. Let me finish my introductory comments with just some thanks, expressing some thanks. The chapter work is done mostly as a labor of love from people that we couldn't do it without them. So first let me thank Brenda Lewis, the secretary in the Department of Africana Studies, who couldn't be here today, but she is central to processing everything that has to happen to induct students into the society. I would also like to express my deep thanks to the other officers of the society. Brian Burke is our vice president. He's from the Center for Technology and Government. Our treasurer, Jane Kessler, from the University Libraries. And Tyler Norton, our chapter secretary, also from the University Libraries, and your, as we say in Japanese, your senpai, who was inducted into the chapter a number of years ago. So he gets to celebrate UAlbany's, his fellow UAlbany grads coming in. Now let me turn to today's formal matters. We want to begin with recognition of some outstanding accomplishments. Each year our chapter awards prizes for academic excellence to the inductee or inductees with the highest grade point averages. Since the prizes involve a monetary award, our chapter treasurer, Jane Kessler, will announce this year's winners.
Thank you, Tony. Congratulations, everyone. Many years ago, a group of dedicated Phi Beta Kappa members at the University of Albany endowed a fund to award a prize to the highest ranking graduating member of the Alpha Alpha chapter of New York. The founders were Emmy Grenander, James W. Corbett, Helen and Bernard Horowitz, Catherine Newbold, Kendall A. Burr, Jarka and Grace Urian, and Mary Goggin. This year, we have actually 4 inductees who all had 4.0 GPAs. So congratulations to Gunter Chow, Victoria Doherty, Scott Ellinger, and Axel Labaugh. Please come forward for your certificate.
Scott. Thank you, Jane. For those of you who are less familiar with Phi Beta Kappa, it's our tradition in the chapter to introduce the history of the society in general, and our chapter specifically, including an explanation of the key mottos and signs of the society. This year I'd like to ask our Vice President, Brian Burke, to enlighten us on the history of the society.
Thank you. So again, congratulations to you all. For those that aren't too familiar with Phi Beta Kappa and their families, this is really a big honor. So I know you probably are hit with lots of different sort of honor societies out there, but Phi Beta Kappa is one of the special ones. And we all know that as being a member. So just really a heartfelt congratulations to you all. Okay, my story carries us back to the time of the founding of the nation on December 5th, 1776. A group of students at the College of William and Mary in Virginia met in the Apollo Room of the Raleigh Tavern, Williamsburg, Virginia, to form the Phi Beta Kappa Society. And it's actually a picture of that room. In the Phi Beta Kappa Handbook, that's the green book that you all should have, you'll find a brief account of the early days of the Society in Virginia and the establishment of the New England branches at Yale in 1780, in Harvard in 1781, ensuring the survival of the society when the parent chapter at William and Mary became inactive. It has since active again. During the following half century, just 4 more chapters were founded at Dartmouth, Union, Bowdoin, and Brown. Their more rapid expansion began in 1845. There are currently almost 300 individual chapters in the United States, and new chapters are admitted each triennium after careful scrutiny. Now, the chapter of the University of Albany that you're joining, the Alpha Alpha of New York, was founded in 1974 as a result of the work of history Professor DeWitt Ellenwood and his university committee. A national body, now called the Phi Beta Kappa Association, was organized in 1883 in response to the recognition of the need for closer unity among chapters and greater uniformity in practices. Incidentally, that 1883 meeting was held about 40 miles north of here in Saratoga Springs. The present standard key is substantially the same as the original medal of the Alpha of Virginia, except for its smaller size and the lower stem added by the branch at Yale. On the obverse, the medal bore the Greek letters Phi Beta Kappa, the initials of the words Philosophia Vayu Kubernetes, love of wisdom, the helmsman of life. In the upper left corner, 3 stars symbolize the aims of the society: friendship, morality, and literature. A pointing hand in the lower corner symbolized aspiration. On the reverse, the letters SP represented the second motto of the society, Societas Philosophia. Below them were engraved the historic date, December 5th, 1776. And above them, the name of the member was sometimes inscribed. Now, the traditional signs of the society have been 2. When members meet, they greet each other by drawing the back of the index and middle fingers of the right hand across the lips from left to right, thus appearing to affirm that their lips are sealed, like this. Now, my fellow chapter officers nor I have ever witnessed that, except we do it at the initiation ceremony. They follow this sign with a handshake, the traditional forms of which have been worn out. Although we may find the external trappings of fraternal societies, such as secret handshakes, a bit foolish, they should not blind us to the power and attractiveness of the ideals underlying the society. Ideals that have enabled it to survive and flourish for more than 2 centuries. Confidence in a liberal education, the pursuit of intellectual excellence, and adherence to the highest moral values. So thank you again. Congratulations.
Thanks, Brian. You all know that our inductees have arrived at this moment as a result of their hard work and commitment to academic excellence. So the chapter secretary will now summarize our selection process and identify the selection committee. Secretary Norton.
You may wonder how the chapter selects students for membership in Phi Beta Kappa. A committee of PBK members studies the records of all eligible students and makes a careful selection based not only on the quality of academic achievement as measured by grade point averages, but also on the breadth of the students' programs. Members are elected from candidates for degrees who have taken and excelled in a stipulated array of courses in the liberal arts and sciences. As you will see from the note on our program, PBK expects students to have taken courses in all areas of the liberal arts: natural sciences, mathematics, social sciences, humanities, and foreign language, while achieving a high grade point average. Unlike other honors, invitations for memberships are extended to students at the end of their undergraduate years as acknowledgement of the excellence of their records. Phi Beta Kappa seeks to recognize students of high intellectual and moral character who demonstrate broad intellectual interests and understandings. The selection committee this year consisted of a dedicated group of 12 faculty and staff members: Laura Benson-Murata, Brian Burke, Anthony DeBlasi, Jennifer Goodall, Julia Jennings, Jane Kessler, Linda Kriskowski, Patricia Strock, Ryan Torn, Adam Gordon, Patrick Knoll, and myself. I know that some of you, when you received the invitation, may have wondered if you should join the society. You may not have even heard of it before, but you have made the decision to join an august and diverse group of people, including 17 U.S. presidents, 42 Supreme Court justices, more than 150 Nobel laureates, and individuals such as Mark Twain, Stephen Sondheim, W.E.B. Du Bois, Kerry Washington, Elijah Cummings, Booker T. Washington, Helen Keller, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Leonard Bernstein, Condoleezza Rice, Peyton Manning, and Francis Ford Coppola, all members of Phi Beta Kappa, to name a few. Our inductees are indeed an outstanding group whose membership in our chapter of Phi Beta Kappa we record today by entering their name in the chapter's roll book. So to all of you, I say congratulations, not only for your academic achievements, but for making the brilliant decision to join Phi Beta Kappa.
Before we get to the actual rituals of induction, I want to point out that this year we have a special privilege of inducting into the society and our chapter a very distinguished member of our Albany community. The bylaws of the Phi Beta Kappa Society empower the chapters to induct individuals as honorary members who have made an outstanding contribution to the liberal arts after their undergraduate years. Today we are inducting Professor Leonard A. Slade, Professor Emeritus from our Department of Africana Studies. And so he will be later on giving us some remarks. Fellow members of Phi Beta Kappa and guests, we now come to the heart of today's ceremony. We are assembled today for the purpose of receiving into membership of our society certain persons who, having been duly elected by the chapter, desire to be admitted to its privileges and opportunities. The chapter secretary, Tyler Norton, will introduce the candidates.
President DeBlasi, members of Phi Beta Kappa, I have the honor to present these students who, agreeably to our invitation, here present themselves for initiation.
Elected to membership in due course, you have been selected as worthy of becoming members of Phi Beta Kappa in accordance with the rules of this chapter and in consequence of our good opinion of your intellectual and moral character, supported by your record of high achievement at the University of Albany. Your names have been submitted to the scrutiny of the constitutional electors of the chapter and have met with their approval. You've been formally notified of your election, and your presence here signifies your desire to be enrolled as members of this ancient and honorable society. By the rules of this chapter, initiates must personally pledge their allegiance to the society and have their names entered on the roll book. Before we go further, has everybody signed the roll book? Okay, we're ready to go. Let's rock and roll. Please stand. Not the guests, just the candidates, the inductees. I am instructed to administer the following promise to which you must agree for admission to the society and our chapter. After I read the promise, I would ask you to assent to it by collectively saying, I do. You will then be called forward by the secretary to receive your certificate of membership. And so now the promise. Do you solemnly promise that you will be true and faithful to Phi Beta Kappa, uphold its standards, obey its laws, and seek to reflect credit upon your affiliation with this venerable fellowship of learners?
I do.
Welcome to the society. You may sit. By election of the chapter and by your assent to its promise and the placing of your name in the chapter's roll book, the Society's requirements for initiation are fully satisfied. I therefore, to the members of the Society present, declare you also members of the Alpha Alpha chapter of Phi Beta Kappa in the state of New York, authorized to wear its key as a badge and to participate in its meetings. Do you want to just use the roll book?
Yeah, that would be great. Scott Ellinger.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Barbara Buck.
Barbara, congratulations.
Gabriel Briscoe.
Congratulations.
Ashley Plant.
Congratulations.
Gunter Chow. Danielle Lozano.
Yeah.
Alex Francis.
Congratulations.
And Bonnie Stern.
Sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you miss. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I would now ask Professor Slade to come forward to accept the Society's promise. Professor Slade, do you solemnly promise that you will be true and faithful to Phi Beta Kappa, uphold its standards, obey its laws, and seek to reflect credit upon your affiliation with this venerable fellowship of learners?
I do.
Thank you. Welcome to the... I've asked Professor Slade to grace us with a reading of his poetry and some remarks on this auspicious occasion. Professor Slade, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Professor de Blasi, for your introduction, and to all Phi Beta Kappa chapter officers and Phi Beta Kappa members, and to parents and relatives and students and guests, faculty, members present on this very propitious occasion. And please know, President de Blasi and Secretary Norton, that indeed, of all the honors that I've ever received, this is one of the highest ones and one of the greatest ones that I cherish. I shall be eternally grateful to you for considering me worthy of this honor. Becoming an honorary member of Phi Beta Kappa will inspire me to work assiduously to help structure a better world. And it will help me to address the timeless hunger of the human spirit. Professor DeBlase and Secretary Norton are two of our brilliant intellectual giants, along with other Phi Beta Kappa members here at our great university at Albany. So congratulations to all the initiates of Phi Beta Kappa. We thank you, faculty members, emeriti, all of us thank you for all that you do to help make our world a better place. Permit me to comment on the power and beauty of a liberal arts education, and on the nature and beauty of poetry, an art that calms the agitations of the soul. May I comment on why education in the humanities, fine arts, social sciences, natural sciences, the organic whole of knowledge, why this is so important, these are so important in today's world. The purpose of a liberal arts education course is to liberate the mind so that we may be able to make intelligent choices and good judgment. I think it was William Shakespeare, born in 1564 and died in 1660, who said, I'm God, 'tis the mind that makes the body rich. So permit me to read just a few poems which honor your mother and father and all relatives and friends and professors on whose shoulders you stand. I shall read those near the end of my presentation. But first, some commentary. In the New York Times on April 5th, 2023, Brett C. Devereux stated, and I'm quoting, higher education with broad study in the liberal arts is meant to create not merely good workers, but also good citizens. Indeed, he opines, citizens with knowledge of their history and culture are better equipped to lead and participate in a democratic society. Learning in many forms of knowledge teaches the humility necessary to accept other points of view in a pluralistic and increasingly globalized society. Jennifer Hollis, a Rutgers University professor, states, and I quote here, the broad knowledge of the wider world will prepare students to deal with complexity, diversity, and change. A liberal arts education, she says, will help one develop a strong sense of social responsibility and transferable intellectual and practical skills such as communication, analytical, and problem-solving abilities, and a demonstrated ability to apply knowledge and skills in a focused, creative, critical, real-world setting. Another scholar observed that 4 out of 5 employers agreed that all students should acquire broad knowledge in the liberal arts and sciences, according to the Association of American Colleges and Universities survey. And even in the current tech-dominated economy, employers prize liberal arts graduates because of their ability to provide creative solutions to problems. You Phi Beta Kappa members have become free thinkers, open communicators, knowledgeable citizens, and respectable individuals, thanks to your parents and grandparents, professors, and mentors. You have an expansive grounding in all kinds of humanistic inquiry, and by exploring issues and methods across the humanities and the arts and the natural and social sciences, you have mastered reading critically, learned to write cogently, and to think broadly. So as you leave our great university at Albany, we fervently hope that you will read for pleasure, and that you will, yes, read poetry and art that calms the agitations of the soul. What is it? Poetry. Poetry is literature that evokes a concentrated, imaginative awareness of experience or a specific emotional response through language chosen and arranged for its meaning, sound, and rhythm. It includes metaphors, similes, hyperbole, synecdoche, metonymy, onomatopoeia, auxiliary, litote, irony, and the like. All figures of speech and literary devices used to help the poet objectify his or her ideas. Increasingly, poetry is a beautiful way to tell a story. And whether it is that story about joy or pain, accomplishment or struggle, our internal conflicts, and our great redemption, poetry is a vehicle for inspiration, something that our world needs now more than ever. Observe, we Wordsworth, poetry is the breath and vital spirit of all knowledge. And said that poetry is the rhythmical creation of beauty, whose purpose is to elevate the soul. Well, your beauty, said one poet, Edgar Allan Poe, and he saw us in the 1800s. He knew that we would be meeting today. Because he says in a poem, your beauty is to me like those Nicene rocks of yore that gently o'er a perfume to see the weary, wayworn wanderer bore to his own native shore. Why beauty? Why beauty? Well, said John Keats, beauty is truth, and truth, beauty. Hence, main deluding joys, a theme of beauty, is a joy forever. Why truth? Says St. Augustine centuries earlier, only truth conquers, and the victory of truth is love. Commented, the blind Helen Keller. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. To sum it up, I said, Lim, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Phi Beta Kappa members, what a beautiful destination for you at our great University of Albany. Read poetry for pleasure, for its beauty, for its power, for it addresses the timeless hunger of the human spirit. All of us stand on the shoulders of our parents and grandparents and other relatives and our professors and mentors and our friends. Permit me just to read several poems, to read my poem called The Black Madonna, about my mother, late mother. The Black Madonna, published in my book called Sweet Solitude, published by the State University of New York Press. Picking cotton on a cold day, blisters decorated her black fingers in the fields. She crawled on her knees until the sun bowed to her. 9 children planted beneath the stars, oh, the earth felt good to her. You can see her now, a parched face and folded hands. She kneels in a different place, drinking blood and eating bread at the altar. Comforted, white gloves feel good to her. Waiting to touch the sky. Hymns feel the air. Oh, they feel good to her. They feel good to her. They feel good to her. Permit me to read my poem called My Mother, in honor of all mothers. My mother loved me when I was right. She loved me when I was wrong. She loved me when I would fight. She loved me because she was strong. My mother worked hard for my success. She crawled on her knees in the field. She knew one day I would be blessed. She prayed that I would never yield to all temptations on the globe, more widespread than ever before. An angel would come in a robe to tell her son she would adore. I thank her every day, whether at work or at play, that God blessed me with a saint, someone I shall always thank. My mother gave me a heart where God dwells every day. I promised to do my part, to love Him, and always pray. My mother, who taught me to study philosophy, to believe in the study of ultimate reality, in existence over essence, in an independent reality distinct from one's consciousness, that the mind is above matter, and we can know more than we actually see or experience. And all we have to do is listen to that inner voice that some people call God, that tells us what to do and what not to do. Oh, my mother, in honor of all mothers as we quickly approach Mother's Day. The next poem, If by Rudyard Kipling, is in honor of all fathers. In the San Francisco Examiner in 1889, a reporter wrote, I'm sorry, Mr. Kipling, you just don't know how to use the English language. Later, Kipling would receive the Pulitzer Prize and the Nobel Prize for Literature, ever in honor of our fathers, Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired of waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, and if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors the same, if you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings and lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. And if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more. You'll be a man, my son. Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility, said William Wordsworth. Here we are on this special occasion, celebrating our liberal arts education in spring, said William House Williams. Oh, let this spring be about hope, personal growth, new beginnings. Said Emily Dickinson, a light exists in spring, a color stands abroad on solitary fields that science cannot overtake, but human nature feels. Said Chaucer about April, a month in spring, one that operated with his shortest sota, the breath of March had pierced to the rota, and bathed every vein in sweet liquor, of which virtue is in that, is the fluid, that's the Middle English. Modern English, and April showers with sweetness pierce the root. Who would have thought? The root, or root, beauty, truth, love. Oh, what is all this joy in spring? But perhaps Langston said it best in his poem, Mother to Son, again another trip to all mothers. Well, son, I'll tell you, like me, ain't been no crystal stairs, had tacks in it and splinters, and boards and places with no carpet on the floor bare. But all the time, I keep climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So don't you turn back. I better keep members. Don't you sit down on the steps because you find this kind of hard. We are still climbing. We're still climbing. And life for us ain't been no Christmas there. Perhaps Thomas Huxley said it best in concluding, summarizing, in his essay, A Liberal Education, and Henry David Thoreau in his book, Walden, said Huxley, a person has had a liberal education who has been trained in youth. Said Wordsworth, a child is father of the man, whose mind is stored with the knowledge of the great and fundamental truths of nature, and who is full of fire and life, who has a tender conscience and who respects and loves others. And say it in David Thoreau, the light which puts out our eyes is darkness to us. Only that day dawns to which we are awake. There is more day to dawn. The sun is but a morning star. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Slade, for those stirring remarks, and especially for the poetry. Well, we are coming quickly to the end of our event here. I want to once again welcome you all to the Society. I want to make one quick observation as I was listening to Professor Slade. It suddenly occurred to me that we were talking about this ancient society, and yet in the course of a few short minutes we went from Greece to St. Augustine to Shakespeare, and the society was not yet born yet. Right? So what that tells me is that you have a responsibility. Right? You're the next step in this ongoing tradition of intellectual endeavor and liberal arts reflection. And so I would hope you would take that seriously. With that, I want to bring the Society's induction ceremony to an end. This is the point where I make my traditional joke about how I wish we could retire to a tavern. Instead, we're going to retire to the Fireside Lounge and have some refreshments. Before we go, however, our Vice President has a little social media announcement here. Sorry.
That's right. I have to get props. So this is just something that Phi Beta Kappa National does. So if what they're doing is you take a picture with this key, or you can print one out from their website, and you go ahead and just use their hashtag there for the PBK self key. They will then enter you into a contest where it's due by the end of June, June 30th, and you can win some Phi Beta Kappa swag. So before you leave, if you like to do that, I'll leave this up front. You take a shot and then do this, and you can do Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Just make sure you use that hashtag and see what you can win. So that was it. That's the social media challenge.
Yeah, we can go from St. Augustine to swag. That's how we go. This concludes the formal induction. I therefore hereby declare the ceremony adjourned. Thank you all for attending. And there's food. Actually, before you go out to the food, can we get the inductees? I forgot all about that. Can we do it up here? Yeah, why don't we do it up there? We'll just get a photo of it. You want to turn off the screen?
I can get it even right here, Tony.
Oh, you can do it from there?
Yeah.
Can the other officers get in?
As long as somebody will give me the picture.
Wait, hold still. I'm going to take a picture. So we have one for the chapter here. Otherwise, we'll end up without one. All right. We say in Chinese, ER sign, 1, 2, 3, smile. Excellent, thank you. All right, now food. Oh, the blood sugar's crash.
And of course, like any student that is graduating this year, the COVID can make the experience quite different and challenging.
No, I knew this the first thing that she said. But it's a good where's
Lot to do too, as usual. Who knows?
Right, I mean.
He's seen it before.
Yeah, this is the third class. Well, fourth class, actually. The third in-person class.
But every good professor makes the adjustments as they notice what needs a little extra, and it just bounces on, and then you miss the rest of the